Hello, everybody. It's another episode of Tarot for Our Times. And the big thing that's been going on as far as the funny stuff on the internet is the revival of FOTUS being Putin's poodle. And when I looked for memes on Facebook today, I found stuff that went back to a friend of mine from New Jersey, did one with Putin walking the Trumpy poodle. That was 2018, so this is nothing new. It's just going through a revision in light of the absolute appalling stuff that he has said about Zelensky, and and the rest of the world is laughing. The British tabs came out with like big Putin's poodle memes and the headline and the whole thing. So the world is laughing at us. So so the card that I think represents that, and you can see it in the thumbnail, is our friend the devil. Now he's not the hot devil like with the other deck, but just scary devil. And one of the reasons visually is that with the dog being on the leash of the chain, the devil has the leash on this couple, which is actually interesting thing about that I learned about the devil card is that it is the negative aspect of the lovers, which is the meeting of the mind. It's a very similar pose, but you have the devil here, but in the lovers card, you have the archangel. You have one of the archangels in the background with the blessing the union. But this is all about a very toxic relationship, codependent. It's all get out. So it just seemed fitting that this is kind of like the toxic bromance. And the thing is that on one hand, the world is laughing. The other hand, he's coronated himself as the king. And it is not the king of the jungle in the strength card. It's just the joke's on him, and he doesn't get it. That's the whole thing. So, and as the world, they're laughing, and they're boycotting us too. A friend of mine from Ireland made a post on Facebook that was saying that in Ireland they're not buying any American products. And I said, and another friend of mine that we have in common, she's from New Jersey, said, "Yeah, go for it. We don't blame you. We don't blame you in the least." And I said, the next time I need butter, it'll be Carrie's butter. I'll splurge and get Carrie's butter. So the thing is that I don't take this personally. And I know that the brighter people know that maybe less than half the country voted for him. But so at any rate, I really want to see what the cards have to say about this. And first I want to read on how the world sees... Oh, I should be shuffling. Here I am gabbing away and not shuffling these. Okay. I want to read on how the world sees us, and then what's going to happen with all of this. And I don't necessarily want to go into the war. Well, it might be a little bit about the war in Ukraine, but it's going to be more about, with Europe having to get more involved in this sort of thing, and he's the big clown show, which makes us the big clown show. Actually, what's going to happen with us and the EU and NATO and all this sort of thing? I don't see that this is a really tremendously great thing, because as I said in the previous video about traveling, now that we're not exactly going to be welcome with open arms when we go to other countries. That people know that a lot of us didn't vote for him, But when you go over there, you're still an American, and they're going to, that's human nature. They're going to put you in that category. And so that's the one thing that's not the greatest. I mean, I wouldn't even wear a red, well, I'm not big on baseball caps, but I wouldn't even wear a red one that said something different or that was just plain, especially traveling abroad. It's like, yeah, why don't you advertise yourself and make yourself the target of pickpockets and con artists and all the rude people? So I want to see, what's going to happen? How's that going to affect us? And I tell you, I usually have it in mind about how a reading is going to go, but then when I pull the cards, that it becomes a whole different ball game altogether. And it never turns out quite as I expected. So, alrighty, how the world sees us right now in light of all of that ridiculous stuff, calling Zelensky a dictator. Talk about projection. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, well, just as I said, this is nothing new. This is a blast of the past. And opening up those things, that it's not a really nice past. And so it's kind of like this is in reverse. It's like, here we go again. So the energy crossing, that is Four of Pentacles in reverse. Now, in this instance, I will say that a lot of times it's about, letting go of the money and not hanging on so tight. Or sometimes it can be the extreme, depending on where it falls. And so with this in reverse and that in reverse, it's the original meaning of really hanging on tight and being stubborn, but it's on steroids. Really, truly on steroids. It's the old doing the same thing, messed up thing over again and expecting a different result. And that's what he's doing. That's what he's gone back to the past, but in a way that it's really worse now than it was. I think 7 years ago might have been when I first started, probably longer than that, first started seeing the poodle memes. So let me see, and they're all over the place. Probably be more when you wake up in the morning or... Okay. So this is, this is about the foreign policy going nowhere. And with this in reverse. And I'm going to say in the next couple of months, it's going to get worse. But this is really being kind of like isolated when this card is in reverse. Tower in reverse, which is going to say this goes back to this in reverse can mean just repeating the same mistakes, expecting different results, and not having learned a lesson from these little disasters. So you go on to another tower, and it could be another tower in reverse, but it'll get worse when you'll get, finally, if you don't wise up, then you get the full-blown tower. Okay, so we have that. Wow, I can't even believe this stuff. The Fool in reverse, it's really making foolish decisions. It's not like taking the leap of faith. It's just jumping into the unknown, but it's like not looking where you're going. This guy upright, he is looking where he's going. It's a fresh adventure where he's not risking being stupid and risking everything. In reverse, definitely risking everything, and it's comes down to our safety and the world seeing us as being very, very foolish. So this could also extend, even though this is the Putin's poodle deal, and you think of Russia, Ukraine, and Russia trying to swallow up the rest of Europe. But we can extend this whole thing to all that stuff he said about Gaza and the Riviera and all of this sort of thing. It's all, it's all and then he's got Marco Rubio holding the bag, who has to back up this ridiculous stuff, and you could see it all written all over his face, like, how did I get involved in this? And I wish I was back in the Senate. Now there we go with them. Okay, so the opposing thing is that there's a lot of things going on that's kind of in suspended animation. And I'm going to say that these so-called things of ending the war, which is only to suit Russia with the mineral rights and the not joining NATO and all this stuff, if anything, it's holding up that war from ending. This is not stopping the war from ending. And so Europe is going to have to step in without our help, and just to move things along. But things have kind of, I wouldn't call it a stalemate. I'm going to say it a temporary standstill, because there's no way Zelensky, I mean, he must have been laughing like crazy when he got those proposals, and said something very, real diplomatic way of saying F you, basically. So, in the past of being the old poochy pooch, in the previous, this is interesting. Now, this is I always consider that, like, the 2 and 3 of Wands, kind of like the cousins or the brother cards. And this is March, where, this, with the 3 of Wands, I think this may be getting to March. But this is about the Trumpian delusion since he knew Putin. And I listened to his niece, Mary Trump, and she said this whole thing of Putin playing him, that's been going on for decades now, because before he was president, there were all the business deals and all that kind of stuff going on. So, Putin is known, all he has to do is toss him a compliment, and, they must be laughing and saying, this guy's the biggest pusher. You could say, you've got the most beautiful head of hair and your physique and all of this BS. Okay, so then we've got him thinking that, wow, things are just going to be so great, and that my ship is going to come in, but that ship that's out in the harbor, it's just out in the harbor. So at any rate, he's always fancied himself as being this great statesman in foreign affairs. It's pretty pathetic, actually. So let's see, on the conscious level, it's all about, as far as like how the world sees us. It's about them walking away emotionally from this toxic element in the States, but at the same time knowing that, and seeing it in reverse, it's not really permanent, that if we can ever get rid of him, that they could be coming back to the family fold. So I'm going to say that I'm seeing this as they have to walk away, but I'm not seeing it as temporary. I do believe that there will be a lot of repair that has to be done. So on the conscious level is like, yep, we're walking away, but we know that when this insanity passes, that we will be returning to you. But subconscious, let's see what the subconscious is. Okay. It's that whole thing of being them having to do it alone, and that and facing the serpent in the pathway, which I would assume is poisonous, and that whole thing of doing it alone, and this is going on in the subconscious, which means then there's a resentment, and it's a resentment that's been festering for a while. So presently, since those headlines broke out this morning, it was so much fun waking up to seeing that go through the news feed. So, okay, presently, it's all about, well, you reap what you sow. And I see that woman walking away, and she does not want to, she's walking away with her little basket saying, I don't like how this turned out. I don't think I'm going to harvest. They're not worth harvesting. So that's what the whole world is going on with us now. But we sowed it, it got voted in, and it's spewing all this crazy stuff. So this woman that represents the rest of Europe is saying, yeah, I don't think we're going to be picking from that. And I'm going to say that this, since it is pentacles in the material world, I'm going to say that they are not buying what we are selling or what he is selling. So they're not going to be buying our goods either. I mean, seeing that post from a friend of mine, because Ireland is in the EU, and I'm going to say that that didn't come out of a vacuum. That's the way they feel in Europe, and you just cannot blame them. I mean, you really can't. I don't even want to buy American right now. I know that's not right, but I don't even want to buy American right now. So that's what's going on presently. So that's going to be an economic thing with us. So let me see, in the hopes and the fears, in reverse, I'm going to say these two people represent, I'm going to say Europe, in not only Europe, but I'm going to say Ukraine and Poland, because Poland would probably be next on the list of the conquests. And as they, that window represents what Putin has been trying to say, how he is controlling the narrative in his world of oligarchs and Trump's world of oligarchs. And they're saying, I don't care. I don't want to go in there. It's in reverse. I do not want to go in there. And it's my hope my hope is that they stay in there. The fear is that they may come out and make our lives miserable again. So that's definitely in the hopes and the fears, especially seeing, that could be for the U.S. too, especially seeing that his being in bed with Russia, that's kind of a scary thing, especially if you grew up in the Cold War and had air raid drills and, the Soviet Union, ooh, watch out for them, that kind of thing. So then, let's see, coming up in the, I feel like this one now, coming up in the near future is, we have the Emperor in reverse, and I'm going to say that this is Putin. He's ruthless, he's nasty, he's cruel, he's all of these things, and his little poodle boy wants to be just like him. And so this is what we're going to have to be putting up with. Although I will say that seeing royalty in reverse also tells me they're not such hot stuff anymore either. That their power is not as powerful anymore. They can be just as cruel and pretend that they're powerful, but Russia is, I mean, they're bankrupt basically. This war has cost them so much in treasure and lives, and they're really in a bad shape. But that's the whole thing, is that Putin knows that he has the one thing that he can control, and that is his poodle from the U.S., the American poodle. So we're going to have to put up with that toxic masculinity pissing match, whatever you want to call it, for a while. And then looking at this months from now, we have, oh boy, as I say, you can't make this stuff up. We've got these, usually it's the feral and the tame dog. I'm going to say, all of a sudden in my clairvoyance, I saw, no, they're both feral. They're howling at the moon. And when things like this happen in history, you find out this stuff, this sicko stuff that's coming out about them, because that's what's going to happen when one tries to control the other. They both dig up the dirt on each other, and it's like, yuck. I feel like I need to take a shower after listening to the news about this. So all this real sicko stuff is going to be coming up. But again, coming next to the emperor in reverse, it weakens. That's the good news, is it weakens them, which is really good, because I have to say that as the rest of the world sees us now, and that they're laughing, is that it's weakening. It's weakening for Russia, who is trying to be the bully and weaken us in return, and then the rest of the world sees us. They're not such hot stuff anymore. So this is kind of very interesting. So in conclusion, with all of this, we have the Four of Wands in reverse. I'm going to say there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I'm going to say that this bromance is going to, when this bromance breaks up, it's going to be ugly, because even though Trump is like really, just all gaga over Putin, he's still, he's becoming more, emotionally unhinged, which means he's becoming more predictable. So I would say that if he senses that Putin doesn't tell him how pretty he is or something, it'll be something really stupid like this. He'll go off the deep end. Putin will go, oh my God, I thought I had him. So I'm going to say, in the long run, someone who has thrown someone under the bus, it doesn't take much to do. So I'm going to say it's quite possible that the Russian dude just may get a little bit too overly confident and make some stupid mistake and get him really pissed off, and that would definitely be the end of that, which is what happens with all of his people eventually. Some it takes longer than others. So what do we learn from all of this? We learn that the most uninspiring leadership, this is like how not to be a leader. It's great in how to manipulate people for a little while anyway, but this is like how we do not inspire the rest of the world, and how American exceptionalism, which I think is kind of a myth anyway, that goes right down the toilet. And we learn that we're not the hottest stuff on the block anymore. So that is it. So as I get these cards together, yeah, I can pretty much say that that this is and it not only weakens us, but I think that in Europe, especially in Europe, because that's where it's all going on, and the Middle East too, is that in a sense they get weakened. I think they'll have the upper hand in a lot of ways in world affairs, but this is going to hurt them economically. So this is the weakening of them, which is going to make them really more hostile towards us, because we're messing with their economy too, and for nothing, for no reason. So I would have to say that most rational Americans are going to definitely say, They want to boycott us and do this. I don't blame them. I don't blame them, but I certainly don't want to have to be over there explaining, "Oh, I didn't vote for him," and da 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 da. I mean, to me, that's not much of a holiday. I just go over and hope they don't see that I'm an American, really, which is always, for some reason, it's ever since I started traveling abroad, I never get taken for an American for some reason, which, believe me, that would make me very happy if I go traveling. So I've been greeted in more languages than you could ever imagine. So at any rate, we're going to say, okay, so what is going to be happening with that? I think the end of that was kind of like a lead-in to this. So let's see what is going to happen as Putin takes his little doggy out on his leash. What's going to be happening with us? I want to say with us as the, rational people that did not sign on for this at all. So how is this going to affect us? I think we're going to probably be sucked in with the FAFO crowd, but maybe we're smarter to know how to survive better than they do, because they're singing the blues on the internet. I'm telling you. Oh, I didn't know DEI meant white women too. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, so we're going to see about. So how is that going to affect now that our leader supposedly is out in the doggy park with his Russian master, and the whole world is hysterical. I have to say, I'm hysterical over some of the memes coming out of that, but okay, trying to get serious. So what's going to happen with us with this? So the first card is the Page of Swords in reverse. Okay. So that's usually the spy in the camp, and it could be the turncoat. I'm going to say that, and I've been talking about this. I'm going to say that in the inner circle, there are going to be people turning on him. The ones that are kind of like the more, I call the educated and the greedy. They know better, but hey, money's money, and if I get the tax breaks, I think that the ones that have some kind of smarts are going to turn on him, but in a way it's going to be kind of like a sneaky betrayal thing. So this tells me this is talking about the discontent in the world. Well, they're not quite MAGA. They're not kind of like the gun-toting red hatter types. But I'm talking about those that just the educated and the greedy are going to be. And I think that it could be on his inner circle too. There will be some spies in the camp feeding stuff to the media, leaking, that sort of thing, because now they're embarrassed. It's just embarrassing to have President Poodle. Okay, so the energy was interesting. A lot is probably with this guy here. I think a lot may be happening. I'm going to see leaks coming out, and I really believe that this is maybe behind the buyer's remorse. And I'm going to say that even the people working with him, they'll realize what he's done to others in their position, and now it's time for us to survive. And I think a lot's going to be happening. Also, I think people are going to take advantage of his dementia, for entertainment purposes only. His dementia. I think people may start to take advantage when they see, he doesn't quite have all his marbles. So that's a turn of something I didn't see coming until I started pulling these cards. So let's see. We've got underneath. It's going to be. Wow, basically people will be keeping their balance. All of us, whether they voted for him, didn't vote for him, it's like really important to keep our balance because the way the world looks at us, we've got to, at least it's going to be keeping our own houses in order, I'm going to say, which is the underlying thing. That let them do what they want to do. We can sit back and enjoy it, but it's kind of like the nation's house is in disarray, so we have to keep our own in order, which is actually a good thing. And I think that's been from November 6th on the people. Okay. Queen of Swords in reverse. So this is a female. So this has been a lot of these women judges like Chetkin and and prosecutors like Fannie Willis and Letitia James and all of these people that have been the bane of their existence. I think there's going to be more of that female energy, because as I've been saying for the past couple years, that a big factor of bringing him down will be women, basically. It's come out in little different forms and readings and posts and things like that. So, but I'm going to say this is probably going to be bringing more of them out from the woodwork. I also think that this is my mystery part. This is part of my mystery woman. There's some woman that has come up as queens before, who I just can't place. And I said, oh, there's someone out there, the mystery woman, that's going to be very instrumental. She's in reverse, so I'm going to say this is going to be the women taking no prisoners. That sword will be wielded. There will not be any holding back. And it will be nasty. Okay, so then we have people are worrying. Underneath all of this, people are really worrying, which could be kind of setting these people off that he'll consider real traitors and turncoats and what that want to save their own behinds. And so there's a lot of worry. It's a lot of worry about the unknown, and we have never been put in this position before where so we were enemies with Germany in a couple world wars, but we had other countries in Europe, and it's kind of like the allies that grew out of the Second World War and that we helped to rebuild, like Germany, so we didn't have another Nazi regime, following Hitler's death and all of this sort of thing. So they've kind of come into the camp of our allies, and I think people are really worried about the effects of this, and which could be motivating the former supporters who are kind of looking to put the screws to him. I think there are people that really do not like being laughed at, and I'm going to say this guy here is taking it personally. So what do we have opposing this? We have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So this is all of those plans that they made, and this may be a little bit into the oligarch class. They made all of these plans, but I think whatever they lose and that they're left with, I would sure love to be living on that, but that's not quite how they see it. I'm going to say that they have planned, they have lost money, and now they feel like they're really stupid for following. Like, why didn't we see what a buffoon he was? So, and I think there's like a little snobbiness when they're saying, oh, we're just as bad as those people in the trailers that supported him. And we were just as, in that respect, we got conned like the people in the trailers. So that's kind of coming in with this. So let's see. In the past, I'm going to say the card that I will, for in the past as to what will happen, I'm going to say maybe this, we'll see if this is a history repeating itself. Okay. It is kind of, because this is It has weakened us before with the last time he was in, but now it is even worse. And it happened in the past to a point where, well, I mean, it was like patchable, but we should have known, or the idiots that voted for him should have known this time was only going to be worse. So we have here in the past with that. Okay, so on the conscious level, what is going to happen? The Page of Cups, I'm going to say on the conscious level, it's going to be maybe trying to, get a new start. I think the desire to get a new start, a new beginning, and be kind of nicer, kinder America than we have been, although it's really hard with him around. Okay, so that's conscious thoughts, subconscious thoughts. We have got the Six of Wands in reverse, and this has come up before. It's the fear of losing. We have been, and this is since the colonies, win, 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 win. And we're not in a winning position now. We do not want to be we want to support Ukraine. We want to be with Europe, but we're stuck with a gang of idiots. And that comes down to being a tourist there. They're not going to know you didn't vote for him. So this is that whole thing of being grouped in with a whole bunch of losers. So that is a subconscious thing, and that doesn't make for people seeing a very bright future. So that's going to be a big driving energy for which we need to get over that whole like rah win at all costs. That's something we need to look at. That's really messed up with our psyche. So in the present, what are we moving towards in the okay, this is the further moving away from the MAGA morons. This is more people leaving, and this comes down to the world laughing at us. Oh, I think it's like when you want to distance yourself and someone's had too much to drink and it's not appropriate. It's kind of like, ooh, you physically move away. And the cups that's what it's about too. So it's about people just moving away. It's like, I can't take it anymore. I do not want to be associated with someone that's getting laughed at. So as far as what's going to happen in the present, people are distancing themselves from that fool who just put a crown on his head in a fake magazine cover. I mean, you have to be the most diehard Kool-Aid drinker to even think that that's acceptable. So in the hopes and the fears, we have the Chariot in reverse. We hope that it will stop, but in the fears we're fearing with the Chariot reverse we're just going to be at a standstill and we're not going to progress. So we got that. So coming up in the near future, as far as what's going to happen as a result of him being who let the dogs out. Woof, 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 woof. Okay. Oh, justice. Okay, it's just like we are so fed up with him just seeming to get away with so much. This is going to bring this up to the forefront, like he really belongs in a padded or some other kind of a cell. But I have to say, with justice in reverse, karma comes. It may not be in the judicial system. It comes, but not on our time, the universe's time. And we're thinking, we wish the universe would hurry up already. So this frustration that this whole thing is just not fair. Didn't sign up for this. So going a little bit further into the future, I'm going to say that as we see all of this unfold, we go through, when I see this in reverse in the context of these cards, I'm seeing this is the inner conflicts that we're having. It's the conflict of you can't go around the world and trash and going around the world. It's on the internet too. It's like you can't always be trashing the U.S. 24/7, but it's really a doofus right now. It's embarrassing. It's gross. It's so this is a conflict that we are going to have to live with for a while. So let us see, and that's going to last for a while. That what's happening is just leaves scars, so to speak. So the lesson to be learned is the Nine of Wands in reverse. It's kind of like you want to, in a sense, you just sort of like want to give up. You want to leave or go into a hole for the next few years. But we can't. We just can't. What we can do is in whatever way say that is him and that is not us until we're absolutely blue in the face. It also means getting out in the streets, and like this goes back to my reading yesterday of lighting a fire under the behinds of our representatives and saying, you know, come on, Hakeem, you need to grow a set. Come on. You need to pick up a little bit of that AOC and Jasmine energy. And there we go again. It's the women. And in the Senate, it's Bernie. It's Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. You got to get in there, and you've got to encourage them. And you know, letting Fetterman's gone done. I mean, there's no more. You know, forget about him. There's no more. You know, he doesn't answer his phones. He doesn't answer his emails. And I live in Pittsburgh, and every single one I know that's you know, on Facebook and everywhere that's active in the Democratic Party say there is no way I'm voting for him again. He's going to get primaried. So and you have to let them know that's what's going to happen. I mean, I really feel bad that maybe there's issues that they're threatening you or your family, but you need to be prepared to find a way to protect them or not to get this job. It's not for the faint of heart. So we need to put the pressure on. And it has been, hasn't really quite worked, but because we're not in the majority in both of these things. But I'm going to say this is that the silver lining with all of this is probably going to be that strong showing in the midterms, and that more people getting completely disgusted. And this is embarrassing. And I would say for all those toxic macho dudes out there, I mean, unless you're diehard Kool-Aid drinkers, you're going to see that he's really being treated like whatever he wanted to grab, if you get the gist of what I'm saying. So to see that he is like with Putin, like even these macho guys that drink beer and watch football and all that stuff, that just doesn't go along with their program. So in a sense, they're really setting themselves up for losses. And then as the dementia grows and all of this sort of thing, too bad they couldn't have seen that in the beginning. But I would say what these spreads say is that as they're the laughing stock of the world, their position is not going to be too strong, and it's certainly not going to be strong here. So on that cheery little note, I'm going to say bye-bye for now.